Hello, Zany friends, and welcome back to like a first full-length book video. I haven't done one of these in a while. I usually do a lot of shorts, and those are like specific individual book reviews, but I decided I want to come on and kind of give you like an unhinged thoughts, maybe something that's a little more, I'm not going to say I'm not honest in my other reviews, but I will say that in these, I will probably have the space to give you honest, off-the-cuff remarks than I do in the other reviews. Those are just like very much sound bites, you know what I mean? So I will be giving you ratings of all the books that I read in the month of August, of which there are 12. I usually try to read 15 or 16, but I had a very bad month of August for reading. That's just what we do. So we're coming back from it. Hopefully September will be better. But in the meantime, let me go through the books that I did read for the month of August. I did start something new this month where I am doing several buddy reads with different people. And so because of that, I feel like that might be one reason I'm all over the place in my reading. So you might see that a little bit here. The first book I read in the month of August was Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. I ended up giving this a 4-star rating. And this is a book about a girl who goes to work on this like farm ranch type thing. She's looking for information on, I think, what happened to her sister. I read a lot of books about missing sisters lately, so I think that's what this one is about. And we follow kind of her in the present and also this diary that she finds in the past and to see if she can find her sister. Like, I thought it was solid. I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't like my absolute favorite of the month. I felt like a lot of the things that I read in this, while completely thrilling, was something I had read before. However, I will still read it again because I thought it was a very interesting book. And as always, if you guys have read this book or any of the books I'm talking about, make sure you put your comments down below so that we can have a discussion, because I'm totally into, like, if you guys hated the book, tell me. I want to know. Then I read The Compound by Ainsley Rawle. I did read this as a buddy read with some people, and this book is one of those, like, snapshot books. I was really into it. I got it from Book of the Month. I had never heard of it before. I saw it on the site, and I was like, interesting. This is about like a reality TV show, but like it's kind of dystopian in a way because like things are happening outside of this compound that they're living in. And the way that it works is they have tasks that they have to complete as a house. And if they all complete the task, then they get things that help them, like food, things like toilet paper, things like that. But they also have like personal tasks that they have to keep secret. And that will also give them things like, again, clothes, jewelry, things they might not even really need, but maybe things they do need. But the people in this book are a little bit unhinged. And I felt like at the end of the book, as much as I like could not stop reading this book, at the end of the book, I felt like they still didn't have a real grasp on what these characters were doing and why they were doing it. There are some very intense scenes in here where people literally go off the rails, and it's a train wreck you can't look away from, but enjoyed it a lot. But I also didn't enjoy it. I don't know what to say about this. It's interesting. I don't have the best time reading like the snapshot books, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like those books where you just kind of are landed in a situation and you just kind of go along with what's happening, and then when the situation ends, you're done. Sometimes I don't have the best time with those, but this one actually both surprised me and also left me feeling a little frustrated at the end. Alright, next I read Destroy the Day by Bridget Kemmerer. This is actually a reread for me because Bridget Kemmerer is like one of my favorite authors, and you will see that. I talk about her all the time. But I buddy read this book with my friend Erin. She had never read any Bridget Kemmerer. Like, I think we started this last year, and I was like, girl, we are reading these books together or rereading for me, because I love them and you will love them. She has kind of the same tastes in books that I do. And so we started with the Cursebreaker series, and then we started reading, I think it is Forging Silver into Stars. It's like another series that she wrote, which takes place in the Cursebreakers universe. And then we started Defy the Night, and that is what the end of this, Destroy the Day, is the last book in the series. And it is a story of a country who is all sick, and there are these two characters who are grabbing medicine give out, kind of like the health Robin Hoods, basically. But then there's also a prince and a king, and they are trying to take care of the country the best way they can, but the country hates them. So it's all about them doing these tasks and trying to figure out, like, how do they save the country. And I love the characters in this book so much. It is my favorite series as a whole. As I will mention later on in the video, we will see if this holds, because there's another one coming. The next book I read was Your Favorite Scary Movie, and this is by Ashley Cullens. This is a look into the Scream movie series, and I thought it was just really fun and interesting. Scream is one of those movies that I watched in the theater when I was in college. I was not big into horror movies, like, at all. And so when I watched this in the theater, I was, like, obsessed, because it was fun, it was campy, but it was also horror, so I think I gravitate more to that fun horror vibe, and this movie had it, and now this is like my favorite horror series ever, and reading this book really makes me want to go back and watch the movies, which I do every year around Halloween time, so I will probably be doing it again, but this gave me a lot more insight into it, and so I highly recommend, if you love this movie series, that you also read this book. So it's hard to get back into it. I realized I didn't tell you my rating. So The Compound, I ended up giving it a 4. Destroy the Day, I gave it a 5 again because I love it. And Your Favorite Scary Movie was very hard to rate for me because it is kind of a non-fiction book. So I didn't really give it a rating. Then I read the YA horror book, The Executioner's 3 by Susan Dennard. I gave this one a 4.5, and I've read a lot of YA horrors this month. This is a book where we follow a girl named Freddie who she's basically very, like, conservatively follows the rules, and she called the cops on this party in the woods, and at the same time a body was found in the woods as well. So she starts to investigate, and there's also this rivalry that's going on between, like, her school and the other school, and that kind of goes into it as well. There's another guy that she's kind of investigating with who, it's like very Romeo and Juliet. He's at the other school, right? And then there's also bodies. But, like, it is a very interesting YA horror book. I thought it had the best vibes for this time of year. Really enjoyed it. Then I read A Land So Wide by Aaron A. Craig. And this book is, and I'm going to say this like in every review that I give, if you have watched the movie The Village, you will think that this premise is very familiar, but it is, I do want to caution you, it is also nothing like that movie. There is a group of people who have to live in this confined area due to some decisions that were made by the people who founded the town, and they cannot leave. However, they have these weird rituals where people have to, like, I think they call it the hunt, where it's how people kind of pair up to get married. And this one girl basically is in love with this boy who, like, her dad doesn't want her to marry. So as she's hiding, she sees him leaving the area, and so she tries to figure out how he did it and why, and then she goes to look for him. But there is all these other things, like, in the lore of the book of why these people are stuck in this area where they can't leave, and, like, horrifically what happens to them if they do. I gotta tell you, this book is so the vibes. It is so fall vibes. Erin A. Craig has said that she wrote this book based on, like, Scottish lore, and I can totally see that. I think, I don't want to give it away. I don't want to give away, like, what the whole thing is, but this is definitely a book that you should read in September, October, because it is so this time of year. I think is all I can say. And I didn't give that book 4.5 stars. Then I read Accomplice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer, and this is the third book in the Assistant to the Villain series. I also read this with my friend Erin as well, and I gave it 4 stars. Now it's going to be very hard to really describe it, because if you haven't read the first 2, I will be spoiling stuff if I try to describe what it is about. But the main premise of the series is that there is a girl, it's like a fantasy, they bill it as the fantasy of The Office, a very cozy fantasy. This girl is basically rescued by this villain character and gets put to work in his castle. There are characters in this book are just so great. But we also have to talk about the fact that I guess the big question here is the villain really a villain? Because while a lot of the choices he makes are not necessarily the best, there are things that he does that are not villain-like. And that's basically what I can say. There's a lot of role reversal going on, and when I finished this one, I thought the third one was the last one. And it turned out no. There are more books in here, and I'm here for it. Not my favorite of the series, but I do really enjoy the characters in this book, so we'll definitely keep reading. Next, I have A Spell to Wake the Dead by Nicole Lesperance. This is a YA fantasy book. I also read a lot of YA fantasy this month. When I heard about what this book was about, I thought, okay, so yeah, this is going to give me fall vibes. I'm ready for it. But ultimately, I gave it 3.5 stars. It is about these two girls who are going to this like beach to do this spell, and I can't remember what spell it is that they end up doing. But then they end up finding a body, and this girl, one of the girls, ends up hearing the ghost or the voice of this body in her head that's telling her, you need to solve this mystery of why I died, who did it, and they just kind of follow what this person is telling them. The mystery aspect was good, but what I kind of lost was the complexity of the characters, and that's why I'm saying this right now, like, YA fantasy as a genre is so complex and wonderful right now that if you aren't hitting certain benchmarks of like character depth and uniqueness, then it's kind of hard to really play, if that makes sense. So I feel like in this situation, the characters just did not call to me as much. I felt like they were running around. They didn't really know what they were doing in this book. There wasn't a real clear path of what was happening. And also, you didn't really know what was going on. Like, they didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what was going on. It was just kind of all like a fluff. But I liked it. The vibes were great, fall vibes. I just wanted more, and that kind of made me sad. Then I read Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This book had been on my shelf for a while, but I ended up reading it with a bunch of friends, and I had never read this author before. And since I have gotten another one of his books, which is Lucky Day, which I will be reading in October, I think, but this is kind of about being gay in Hollywood, in that there is a screenwriter, a scriptwriter, who has some gay characters in this TV show, and he's being told by the network that he needs to kill them off. And he refuses, but then he starts getting haunted by his past horror characters. And this went to a place I did not think it was going to go. It was very weird. There were parts that were extremely gross. Like, very bad. Okay? I could not. But I couldn't stop reading it either. And if it gives you any indication of, like, what this book, like, how weird this book gets, let's look at the author's picture. Yeah, okay. You get me? Alright, so if you like quirky horror, maybe a little gross horror, this is your jam. This one right here. But for me, liked it a lot, liked the author's writing, would not read again, because I just can't go there. But let's talk about one I would go somewhere with. I gave this 5 stars. This is Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kemmerer. Oh my gosh, this is an adult fantasy. She, like I said, she usually writes YA fantasy. So this is her journey into adult fantasy. I am here for it. This series, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, might topple Defy the Night, which is saying a lot, because I love that series. And this is about 3 characters. The warrior is a king who needs to kind of save his country, and then he is going to marry a princess through an arranged marriage. She has, like, little to no magic, and he needs magic from her father in order to get his country out of a drought. And then the assassin is her childhood friend who is tasked with killing the two of them for political reasons and other things. This book is a little bit spicy. It's a little bit spicy, and there is a love triangle, and in a way, so different than other stuff that I've read by her. I honestly cannot wait for the next book to come out, as usual with her. But I was so happy, I was so thankful that the publisher sent me this, like, limited edition copy, because I was going to go buy it anyway, but, like, they sent it to me, and I was like, thank you so much. I will treasure this copy. It's just beautiful, and I love it. Fantasy, guys. If you have not read anything by Bridget Kemmerer, do it. We're almost done. We got 2 more. This is Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes. This is a mystery book. So weird and quirky. Weird, I guess weird, not weird so much, but more unique. Okay, so the premise of this book is that you murdering your employer. This is a how-to guide, right? Kind of. And what happens is we're following 3 different characters, but we start off following a character named Cliff who tries to kill his boss because of heinous things his boss has done. And he does not succeed in doing it, and so he gets pulled into the cops, investigators' reaches, and then through other things, he kind of gets recruited to attend the school that teaches you how to murder your employer. And there are rules. You can't just go ahead murdering whoever. It has to be a person who has done very bad things or that their death will actually benefit the world. And in order to graduate, you have to successfully kill them and then not get caught. So if you don't graduate, apparently other things happen to you. I cannot remember why, but we're following 3 different people. There is a narrator who is like the dean of the college who tells you all about these characters. And then we also follow Cliff, who is narrated by Neil Patrick Harris. I did listen to the audiobook as well when I was reading this. And I will tell you, this was just so fun. And I guess when I got this book, I wasn't really expecting how fun it was going to be, but it was actually really fun. However, I felt like I got the characters mixed up. The other 2 are girls, and I felt like just listening to it, sometimes I forgot who was who and who was doing what. But overall, I really liked this book. I gave it 4 stars. Thought it was solid. Would read again, and apparently, I think there's another one coming out at some point, but like, this book came out in 23, and there's still nothing like on Goodreads or anything about the next one, so I don't know when it might come out. But if it does, I will read it. The last book I read for August was one that was on my anticipated for September, and I had already made my list. But then I had decided I just was going to read this one, and I ended up finishing it in August, and that is The House of Quiet by Kirsten White. I gave this 4.5 stars. I like Kirsten White's other horror books, but this is YA horror, and if you have read any of her other stuff, you know it's kind of gross sometimes, but this book is not. So if that has kind of held you back from reading her other stuff, then you might want to give this one a try. And right now I'm in my missing girl era. A lot of the books that I read are all about, like, missing girls. And this book is about a girl named Birdie who has a sister who has been taken to do to get, like, a certain procedure that will give her a power so that her family can be taken care of because her family gets money from it. It's like a whole thing in the society. And so she goes and gets the procedure while her sister Birdie is working to get money in order to get this procedure done. And so she doesn't see her sister for a while, and then her sister just winds up missing, and so she gets to be a maid in this house where her sister was last seen. And in this house, the House of Quiet, is where all these aristocratically rich kids are going to get the same procedure, and they stay there to kind of convalesce and, make sure it takes and whatever. So she goes with 2 other girls as maids to take care of the house, and she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister after that. What I will tell you is that the characters in this book, I fell in love with all of them. I thought this book was so well written and so beautiful and heartbreaking and yet full of love, and it's so interesting to talk about. I can't even really tell you what happens in this book and how it's different from other books that are kind of the same thing. The whole missing family member goes to find them, like Forget Me Not at the beginning. It's kind of the same premise, except it's a ranch and not a house. But the characters and the writing, the way it's just well written. It's well conceived. It's just so good. Highly recommend this book. Will be reading it. All the vibes for the fall, definitely it's all there. So those were all of my books for the month of August. Please let me know down in the comments if you actually really like this kind of chatty, discussion that we're having about the books. I would love to hear your thoughts on some of these books as well, or if there's something in the same genre that you think I would like. I mean, I'll try, but I'm very backed up as far as books to read, especially in my NetGalley queue, let me tell you. So that is where we are in the month of August, and I hope you enjoyed our little August wrap-up. And if you're looking for specific reviews, make sure you check on shorts. They will be on there as well. So until next time, stay zany.